Enjoy early access to ad-free episodes each week when you subscribe to Wedding Planning Podcast Premium in Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the show. I will never say that an idea is a horrible idea. I think that's a great idea. And it's a great way to take advantage of, look, like you said, wedding food is not always that great. It's a piece of meat, it's a vegetable, it's a potato, and if you're lucky, a piece of bread and a salad. And then
Yeah.
you multiply that by 100 people and you're footing a bill that's 25 grand. It's just it's not necessary. If that's what someone wants to do, that's totally fine, but it's not necessary. I love teasing out the concepts of quality and value. And as you're putting together plans for your wedding celebration, there are so many creative opportunities for you to deploy a unique and offbeat solution to what may seem like a standard wedding checklist item. So many couples subconsciously equate a higher price tag with a higher quality end product or service, and that's simply not always true. And worse, that mentality can add up to spending tens of thousands of dollars more than necessary to host a memorable and meaningful wedding celebration. So, the $10,000 question is, how can we develop an instinct for when it makes sense to invest more money for a higher quality experience, and when taking a less expensive route will be just fine? And that's what we're going to highlight today with a few listener scenarios that may seem a little crazy on the surface, but in reality, they offer a great chance to maximize the quality and the value of the end result. Anytime a listener presents me with a kind of crazy sounding idea that incorporates their desire to do things a little differently, to save a little money, and to create a better overall experience, I get so excited and I'm all ears. Our first scenario for today relates to reusing and repurposing decor and household items that you, your friends, and family already own, and in turn, saving yourselves thousands of dollars on a rental contract for seating, lounge areas, plants, lighting, a bar, etc. When a listener named D first outlined to me her idea to rent a U-Haul to transport decor items, furniture, rugs, plants, picture frames, signs, vases. She already owned all of this stuff and just wanted to take it from their house to their wedding venue so that they could create multiple cozy spaces for their guests to enjoy. I heard all of this and was immediately hooked on helping her bring this vision to life. I'm going to share some audio from our conversation where we're going to walk through the recommendations and detailed steps that Dee tackled to make this vision come to life.
So part of my cost savings plan and also a way to bring our personality into our wedding experience, I think, is incorporating things that we already have that we enjoy as decor in our home and renting a U-Haul for, I think it's $20, filling it with our stuff and bringing it over and using it as decor for our wedding. And instead of spending thousands of dollars on fresh florals that we will enjoy for a few hours and then, unfortunately they're going to fade away, which no judgment on anybody who enjoys fresh florals. That's awesome. But I just figured it would be a really nice cost savings benefit and creative way to utilize our stuff. And we're a very eclectic couple. So we have some nice, we have a velvet orange love seat couch that people could enjoy, if we set it. Hopefully we're hoping for nice weather, of course, as everybody is, but hopefully we can set it up with a little boho rug and some pillows and make a little living room area that people can relax in. I've got a bunch of baskets that we can utilize either in the bathroom for, necessities in the bathroom for the guys and girls as they're getting ready. Hopefully the weather's good. If they're hot, they need something to wipe off, a little face wipe or whatever. They'll have it available. I've got a bunch of large plants. I'm a plant hoarder, so I would love to bring some of my large plants to kind of decorate. And I've been having a really fun time going to the local thrift shops and finding candles and lanterns and brass, candlestick holders that are super fun that we can use as the table decor as well.
So fun. And you can tell in your voice that this is something that like totally lights you up and you're really excited about, which makes it even better. I know it's not for everyone.
No, it is a lot of work, but I think it's if you enjoy it, then it's worth it. And I think my biggest thing that I really have to figure out is um, understanding how much my day of coordinator can help me with the unloading and the prepping. But I think it will be worth it. And I think it will be a very interesting and unique experience for our guests that is also very truly Chris and Dee.
So you had mentioned, and we both kind of laughed about it. There's not a Google answer for can I rent a U-Haul and take wedding decorations from my own house? And if so, how would I go about doing that? So
Yep.
that's what we're kind of creating here in real time. And Dee, we are so much alike. I made a little list of like a flow chart of how would we go about doing this. So you mentioned $20 to rent a U-Haul, and we've all been on the highway driving and you see the U-Haul and on the side it's like 19.99 per day. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is getting a for reals price quote, because as we all know, it's probably not going to be just 19.99. It's probably going to be more than that. So the first thing I would definitely do is get like a realistic total price quote based on mileage, days, because you'll need it to drop off and to pick up. And it's a wedding weekend. So we're going to be looking at multiple days. So
Yep.
just to make sure, as again, we can all relate to, sometimes these costs balloon. And instead of 19.99, it's all of a sudden like $680 because you've got
Mm,
and insurance and mileage and extra days and extra drivers and blah, blah, blah. So that's the
yep.
first thing I would do, which you're nodding your head. I know you're already on it. Uh, the second item I would really think through, when can you move everything on site? So you're doing a wedding weekend at this camp and just getting a really tight timeline that also buys you as much time as possible in terms of when can this stuff get dropped off and when can it get picked up. Ideally,
Yep.
it's not getting dropped off like the morning of everyone else arriving. And then ideally, it's not getting picked up at 6 a.m. the morning after your wonderful wedding day.
Absolutely. And I think having the camp is a really nice benefit there because it gives us the flexibility. We've already talked to the camp director that we could come earlier that week and drop things off as basically as early as we want in their storage area, which is covered and closed. So that's fantastic. But like you said, we would also want to factor in the days in which we would have the U-Haul. So if we did that early, factoring in what that cost would look like versus doing it, say, the day before the wedding on Friday.
And that's awesome if you can move in earlier that week and they don't mind if this stuff just kind of sits there for a few days. That's going to save you the expense and time and trouble of hiring someone separately to have to do this transportation for you. So if you guys arranged it well and were proactive about the scheduling, it sounds like the two of you could maybe even move it in yourselves, which makes life easy.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing we have to factor in is how much stuff, like what size U-Haul we need and how much stuff we're looking to put in there. I don't anticipate us needing a larger U-Haul than the smallest option. But I have written down, like, I have these large sticky notes on my wall where I've written down, like, what furniture would I like to bring? What do I want to bring for the ceremony area? What would I want for the reception decor? We're gonna have a little in memory of area where we're gonna have photographs and frames and build a little family tree. So like those kind of things, or even like coolers and ice packs and baskets.
Mhm.
But so it like thinking about all these things, how large they are, you have to kind of consider that when thinking about what kind of U-Haul you're going to rent as well.
Definitely. How far away is the camp from where you live?
So the camp is about 45 minutes from where we live. So it is a little bit of a trek, but the good thing about it is the camp is located near a very active area. It's by, on the post road, we call it. So there's a lot of things nearby. The hotel block that we set up is nearby as well. Yes, we're hosting a camp wedding, but not everybody wants to stay over at a camp, so has to do the hotel block too. But the good news is I think there is a U-Haul down the street. So, once we're there, we could probably drop it off right there and save some mileage.
Nice. Love that idea. So just rent it for a day to drop off and then rent it for the day to pick up. So smart.
Mhm.
Perfect. And then the next thing on my list was making an inventory list. John, my now husband, John, and I did something similar. We didn't do furniture, but we did do, I'd say 90% of our decor items were things from our own house, and then things that I borrowed from my mom and dad and my close friends. And our biggest mistake in doing that was that we did not have a master inventory list of everything we had taken into the house. And I don't need to say it. I mean, it's obvious and everyone can imagine how there are just a million things going on your wedding weekend. And thinking about how many vases you borrowed from your mom to use at the wedding is not top of mind.
No.
So, I mean, that inventory list would have been a total lifesaver because as we were moving out of the property on the Sunday after everything was over and done with, it was really, unfortunately, a group of us just trying to remember, like, oh shoot, we brought our really nice big wooden cutting board so we could have extra workspace in the kitchen. Did anyone grab that? And it just
Mhm.
cost a lot of mental stress and energy that didn't didn't have to be that hard. So
Right.
making this master inventory list is incredibly smart. And then as you're kind of adding things and thinking about what to take, you mentioned a lot of your furniture. I would just maybe mentally be prepared for, like, what would we do if someone spilled a glass of red wine on this beautiful vintage velvet couch, or not saying it's going to happen, knock on wood, I really hope it doesn't happen, but just kind of running that through your mind as well.
Yep. I think that's totally fair to consider. And I've heard that hydrogen peroxide is a great great stain remover. So maybe we'll keep some of that on site as well. But yeah, you have to definitely consider that if you're using your own things, they might get broken or lost. Um, so that's a good piece of advice.
And then next on kind of the flow chart list of how to execute this, but having a really tight set of instructions for anyone who's going to be helping you so that your wedding planner and their crew doesn't just open the storage shed and see a big pile of furniture and stuff and not know where to put it. So that's
Yep.
going to be probably, hand in hand with that inventory list could be a really systematized map and drawings and schematics of what exactly goes where. And of course, I can tell you're not the type of person who's going to flip out if the vase isn't in the perfect right spot, but just so they have a general idea of the couch is
Yeah.
not going by the bonfire, it's going in the front room, stuff like that.
Yes, yeah, and you're right. I mean, I don't honestly, I would let people have a free for all with the decor if I felt like um people would enjoy that, but I feel like it's better to have the instructions because otherwise people are going to be overwhelmed. They don't have the same vision that I have. And I definitely wouldn't get upset if, a vase was somewhere and not somewhere else, but you definitely need people can get overwhelmed if they open up that shed and see just a pile of flowers and faux flowers and vases and plants and a couch and just say, where is this going? So I'm definitely yeah, beyond the inventory, I think drawing a map is a great idea. And that is something that I've started doing. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to organize the thoughts, and I think I've tried them all. And I'm trying to find the best method of organization, but I've got a couple ones going.
That's a lot to take in, and maybe this idea is perfect for you. Maybe you're on the like, nah, I think I could leave that and just go ahead and invest a few $100 on rental items. That's totally fine too. But the point is, I hope that you're inspired to just approach things a little bit differently and to see that what may seem like a really crazy idea at the beginning can actually work when you tackle it through some really intentional and well thought out steps. And again, even if you chose just a few things to incorporate in your wedding day decor, it doesn't necessarily have to be a full U-Haul full. You'll still enjoy not only some cost savings, but you'll also enjoy an added layer of meaning to the overall vibe at your wedding space. So notice how Dee's original intention isn't just to save money, aka maximizing value. It's also to surround their whole celebration space with items and things that they love and that are meaningful to them on a day-to-day basis. So that's the second piece. That's maximizing the overall quality, and that's what really makes her idea a winner. Okay, let's shift gears just a little bit, and I want to spend a few minutes on another workaround idea that I just love, and that is purchasing decor and or rental items to use once at your wedding and then resell everything to another couple after your wedding is over. Susan's Travel Services is so excited to partner with you to plan your honeymoon, destination wedding, or maybe even your bachelor or bachelorette party. Susan and her team have been planning dream vacations for 27 years, and they are truly the best in the business for start to finish planning services. Travel and new experiences are incredibly special to me, and Susan and her team have helped me plan some unforgettable vacations, including a bachelorette party in Cabo and a family anniversary celebration in Cancun. They meticulously researched the best all-inclusive options for us based on some very specific priorities, and the professional assistance in choosing location, resort, activities, and transportation was absolutely priceless. From all-inclusive resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean, overwater bungalows in the Maldives, or that African safari that you've always dreamed of, save yourself hours of research and guesswork and let Susan and her team find you the best options for a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Reach out to Susan and her team today by emailing info@susanstravelservices.com. And be sure to let her know that I sent you and get $50 off your final booking or $200 off your destination wedding. Her email one more time is info@susanstravelservices.com. Let me ask you, does purchasing 18 fondue pots, 22 tablecloths, 80 sets of silverware, 80 dinner and appetizer plates, and 100 wine glasses, and then using everything one time at your wedding, then selling it all on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Does this sound a little crazy? This is literally what I did for my own wedding. And rather than spending a whole ton of money renting all this stuff, we actually broke almost even by buying it ourselves and then reselling everything after our wedding was over. We did a lot of table and catering related purchases, but this method also works so well for decor items such as archways, string lights, plants, charger plates, lanterns, LED candles, artificial flower arrangements. It's just such a smart way to have the benefit of beautiful brand new things, minus the expense of renting them for just a few hours. Now let's ask, are there risks involved? Yes, you might not sell everything. It might take longer than you think to sell everything. You might not get exactly as much money as you wanted to get by selling everything. Is there additional work involved? Absolutely. But if you're looking to save a significant amount of money by cutting a few smart corners, then this entire show, and we're just getting started, this entire show is packed with legit options. And buying and then reselling decor and catering elements is hands down one of my favorite workarounds to increasing quality and value. Okay, moving right along, let's jump into catering. So, a couple is trying to find a more affordable way to serve dinner without using a traditional wedding caterer. You heard a snippet at the very beginning of today's show that came from this original conversation with a bride who is looking to maximize the quality and value of the food that they serve on their wedding day. So, is not using a wedding caterer a bad idea? Are we crazy to try and find a local restaurant to cater family style? Is it weird that I think traditional wedding food is nothing special and I don't feel like spending $16,000 to feed our 150 wedding guests? I think you can guess what my answer is to all of those questions. And unfortunately, so many couples just assume that of course they have to use a wedding caterer. And they never even explore the endless creative solutions to traditional wedding day food that are literally hiding in plain sight. The moral of this story is that the sky is the limit for unique ways to approach your food and drinks. For my Apple Premium subscribers, you'll see a show that's available on doing your own appetizer spread. That's kind of an extension of this idea, and that's available to you right now. Moving on to a completely different topic, purchasing a once worn wedding dress from the internet. Is this crazy? No, it is not. This specific question was about purchasing from eBay. Obviously, there are a ton of resale sites out there on the internet, but to go with this one specifically, eBay offers a very generous set of buyer protections, as do most payment providers, and probably even your own bank or credit card issuer. So whether it's eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, just to name a few big ones that come to mind, you as a purchaser, as a consumer, have a lot of built-in protections supporting you. For many brides, wearing a brand new $5,000 designer wedding gown is not anywhere near a top priority for them, in which case purchasing a once worn dress might be a great option for you. And if you fall in the middle, where you would love the luxury of a designer dress, but you don't feel the burning desire to invest upwards of $5,000 on purchasing a brand new one, I just released a show within the past couple of weeks that you'll definitely want to check out on purchasing a once worn designer dress. And closing note on wedding dresses, this also ties back to our previous discussion about buying, enjoying, and then reselling. We focused on rental and decor items, but a wedding dress, whether it's a designer dress or just off the rack, that's another wonderful opportunity that you can use to purchase and then flip and recover some of your original investment. And next scenario for today is offering on-call shuttle service for guests within a gated community during our wedding weekend events a good idea. For a little more background information on this scenario, we are dealing with a wedding weekend celebration that's going from Thursday to Sunday. So the breakdown is a welcome party on Thursday, rehearsal dinner on Friday, wedding on Saturday, and then post-wedding brunch on Sunday. Love it. We have about 100 guests staying within a gated community at various rental properties and a hotel, All of the lodging is within a 3-mile radius of all of the various activities throughout the weekend. The community does offer golf cart rentals, but we thought it would be a nice service to also give our guests the option to hop on a rotating shuttle service so that they don't need to worry about enjoying drinks and then having to drive home. Okay, so full disclosure, this is a real wedding situation that played out in a somewhat negative way. Spoiler alert. And I'm sharing it with you to illustrate some of the potentially troublesome areas that you should be aware of and pay close attention to as you're thinking through the feasibility of your creative ideas. In a very generous effort to accommodate her guests, this bride made things way too complicated, and she wound up fielding dozens and dozens of texts from different shuttle drivers and confused guests throughout her wedding weekend. Now, on the surface, it's a wonderful idea, very generous, to offer your guests the convenience and safety of shuttles. But the layout of this community, there were unforeseen delays. There was lots of waiting on people who were running late. And then the overall issue of not fully handing over responsibility for managing the day-to-day planning and scheduling. These were all contributing reasons why this idea kind of backfired. Now, don't get me wrong. The wedding in question was overall an absolute success, and this in no way took away from that or spoiled the entire experience, which is really important to note. But I'm sharing this one to illustrate that there is a huge difference between a great idea and putting plans in place to properly support and execute that idea. Some very general guidelines to live by as you're looking for opportunities to go off the beaten path in search of maximizing the quality and value of your wedding. First off, ask yourself, is this idea scalable? Is the size of our wedding, our guest count in relation to my idea, is it realistic? Next, you need to ask yourselves, do you have enough help to pull this off? Because it's not going to be you on the wedding day executing, unloading a U-Haul and placing all of your decor items around your venue. So you need to have enough help and helping hands, people who are willing and able to assist you and make this vision come to life. And then very closely related to that, are you delegating the right things to the right people? It's worth mentioning here, so important, you should have as little involvement on your plate on the wedding day as possible, and that involves a lot of proactive delegating. Ask yourselves, is it affordable? Is there really the bang for your buck cost savings on the surface that might be really enticing and you might think you're going to be able to save thousands of dollars? But in reality, there might be hoops and workarounds and unexpected things that come up that inflate the overall price tag and in turn really shrink the benefit that you're actually getting in the end. We've talked about this a few times in the past couple of weeks in terms of renting a blank space DIY venue. On the surface, wow, it might seem like you're getting a venue for free and you're just saving yourselves piles of money. But in reality, that's rarely the case. And then another question to ask yourselves is what we're trying to do safe? Is it legal? That might sound a little intense, and I am certainly not here to offer any legal advice whatsoever, but this is an issue that comes up with couples who are looking to use non-traditional venue spaces such as Airbnb rentals, campgrounds, camp lodges, public access properties. And having proper event insurance is one thing that comes to mind, as does ensuring that you're going about alcohol service in a legal and safe way, that you have valid event permits, you're following neighborhood rules and regulations, and you're also abiding by homeowner restrictions if you're using a private property. And then also ask yourselves, very important, what's the worst case scenario if this doesn't work? What are the downsides? And is that worth it? In other words, is all of this added work, logistics, planning, and stress worth the payoff in the end. These checkpoints and guidelines are not meant to scare you. They are not meant to deter you from pursuing an idea that you have. And it bears repeating just one more time. Just like there are no stupid questions in life, there are no horrible or crazy ideas when it comes to designing your perfect wedding celebration. There are ideas that need lots of careful thought and extra planning. But if you're up to the challenge, then the payoff can be huge. If you'd like to run your offbeat wedding ideas by me for a feasibility check, I do have one-on-one calls available, and you can book a time on our website, weddingplanningpodcast.co, and click on the Work With Me tab. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Thank you for including me in your wedding plans, and we'll talk again next week, same time, same place.